Today we'll be discussing about how Buddhism did go to all places of the world. Under the category of spread of Buddhism, I would like to stress that it was Ashoka who was responsible in the spread of Buddhism in all parts of the world. The edicts of Ashoka speak about several emissaries being sent to various countries in order to spread Buddhism. It is as far as the south as Sri Lanka, and in the western it is the Greek kingdom, in particular the neighboring Greco-Bactrian kingdom, and possibly even farther to the Mediterranean. So it was Ashoka's edict which speak about that he sent some emissaries to preach this religion, to spread of this religion as far as Sri Lanka in south and the Greco-Bactrian kingdom in the western front. Ashoka the emperor was said to have convened a Buddhist council around 250 BC at Pataliputra with the elder Magaliputta. He is one big monk. The objective of the council was to purify the Sangha, and particularly from the non-Buddhist ascetics who had been attracted by the royal patronage. It was the first Buddhist council. It's not exactly the third as I mentioned, it is the first Buddhist council around 250 BC at Pataliputra. It was this time Buddhism adopted the worship and veneration of stupa. The concept of having a stupa perhaps originated during this time. The stupa is a large mound of stone which contained relics. In Pali, it is known as the sarira. Sarira meaning the body part of Buddha or some other very important saints are kept within each stupa. It was believed that the practice of devotion of these relics and the stupas could bring blessings for the lay followers. Perhaps the best preserved example of a Mauryan Buddhist site is the great stupa of Sanchi. In Sanchi, in India, we find a great stupa, and perhaps it was the first great stupa from a Mauryan dynasty which dates from 3rd century BC. Now, what are the new features in Buddhism that time? The most important feature of Mauryan Buddhism was the worship and veneration of stupa. Now, the people started worshipping the stupa and giving credence to the stupa. Large mounds, as I said, stupas are the large mounds which contain the relics. It was believed that this practice of devotion is for the benefit or for the blessings of the person who creates it, and Sanchi Stupa is the best example for that. According to the pillars and the rock edicts of Ashoka, we know that emissaries were sent to various countries in order to spread Buddhism up to Sri Lanka and up to the Greek kingdom, and even up to the Mediterranean. Now let us keep it here. Let us think about the split that occurred in the Buddhist religion. Before any further discussion about the post-Ashokan Buddhism, what happened after Ashoka, let us take a pause and talk about the split. What is the split? Around 1st century BC, a major split occurred within the Buddhist fold. These were called as the Mahayana and Hinayana branches of Buddhism. The Hinayana first is literally known as lesser vessels, lesser vehicle. Jana means vehicle, Hina is the little, the lesser or the little vehicle. This branch of school continues to believe, and it is still there, in the Theravada school, which was founded in the 4th century BC in Sri Lanka, and all South Asian countries today, this school continues to be there. This school stresses the historical figure of Gautam Buddha and the centrality of the monk's lifestyle and practice of meditation. Theravada monks hold that the Buddha taught a doctrine of anta, no soul, and when he spoke to the presence of human body or impersonance of human body, the form, the perception, the sensation, the feelings, the consciousness and volition. They believe, however, that all human beings continue to be reformed and reborn and to collect karma until they reach nirvana. They believe in several bars till you reach nirvana. The Theravada school has compiled a sacred canon of early Buddhist teaching and the regulations which is enshrined, which they say the name of that is Tripitaka. Three Pitaka books which the Theravadins believe has to be followed by every Buddhist. Then, on the contrary, after the Hinayana, there was another school known as Mahayana. Mahayana is another branch of Buddhism, and the meaning of Mahayana is Maha is great, Yana is vehicle, it is a great vehicle. This school began around 1st century. Mahayanis are now in Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, Tibet, and in many other countries. Now, this Mahayana school in itself has many schools, like the Pure Land school, the Jain Buddhism, the Humanist Buddhism, Tantra, Vajrayan, Kalachakrayan. These are the small groups of small branches of the great vehicle that is the Mahayana school. Mahayana schools in general utilize texts which are known as sutras, stressing that lay people can also be good Buddhists and that there are other effective plans so that they can also attain nirvana in addition to meditation. If they do meditation and they do follow some paths provided to them by the Dhamma itself, they can become Buddha. It is believed that all human beings have their own origin with Buddha nature. Every human origin is related to the Buddha nature, existence, enlightenment potential. Every man has an enlightenment potential. The form of the historical Buddha was only one manifestation of Buddha nature. The Buddha which we say in history is just one manifestation of the human beings who could have the existence, enlightenment potential. Mahayana thus speaks of many past and also many future Buddhas, some of whom are godlike and preside over sattvas who are persons, preside over the Buddha worlds or the heavenly paradises. Especially important are Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are the persons who have reached the point of enlightenment but turn back and take a vow to use that enlightenment, compassion, wisdom and power to help release others from their suffering. Thus we find many forms and practices which were developed within the Buddhist fold, which allowed many different types of people to satisfy their spiritual need through this great religion called Buddhism. Mahayana, or the great vehicle I told, and also the Bodhisattva jhana began sometime between 150 to 100 BC. The Mahayana emphasized the Bodhisattva path and the doctrine of upaya, upaya meaning the skill. It emerged as a set of loose groups associated with the new text named Mahayana Sutra. These Mahayana Sutras prompted new doctrines such as the idea that there exists other Buddhas who are simultaneously preaching in countless other world systems. That means it is not only the Buddha, historical Buddha, there are many Buddhas everywhere in this world, in the outer world. They are preaching in different world systems. They continue to preach in different countless other world systems. In the time of Mahayana, Bodhisattva and also multiple Buddha came to be seen as transcendental, beneficent and benevolent beings who were subject of devotion. It is not only the Buddha, but many future Buddhas, many past Buddhas, or many simultaneous Buddhas who were preaching in many places of the world system. They are subject to be given the salutation, and they are subjects of devotions also. Mahayana as a school was gaining ground in India, and Huenshan, a Chinese pilgrim who visited India in 7th century, witnessed the same thing. Mahayana is today the dominant form of Buddhism in the East Asia and Tibet. Now, when this was the state of affairs of Buddhism during the time of Ashoka, what happened to this religion after the demise of Ashoka, after the death of Ashoka? Several scholars have suggested, many people, many scholars, they are of the opinion that the earliest sutra, Pragya Paramita Sutra, was developed in Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. These are the two southeastern states of the present day India. While scholars attribute Andhra's Nagarjunakonda as the important center of Mahayana Buddhism, yet Odisha is also considered as the cradle of Mahayana Buddhism. We find the first earliest sutra of Pragya Paramita was perhaps developed during this time, and it was developed in Andhra Pradesh and also in Odisha. Next is nearly 50 years after the death of Ashoka, nearly 50 years after Ashoka, Shungas, the dynasty was Shunga dynasty, and major ruler of that dynasty who founded this was Pushyamitra Shunga. Now this Shunga dynasty ruled over for a brief period, and in the process the ruler was said to be hostile towards Buddhism. He was not very friendly to Buddhism. Though there has been no historical proof to back it. When we say we do not have any historical backing to what I am saying is correct. Buddhist institutions, however, were on harder times under the Shungas. The Shungas were the one who established the empire after the Mauryan Empire after the death of Ashoka. Buddhism in Greco-Roman world. The Greco-Roman kings or the Greco-Bactrian kings, Demetrius first, invaded the Indian subcontinent. He was the one after Alexander who started invading some parts of India subcontinent and establishing a kingdom that was to last in parts of northwest South Asia until the end of 1st century AD or CE. Buddhism flourished under the Indo-Greek and Greco-Bactrian kings. One of the most famous Indo-Bactrian kings or Indo-Greek kings is Menander. Menander, who reigned from 160 to 135 BC. He is presented the Mahayana tradition as one of the best benefactors of the faith, on a par with King Ashoka and later with King Kushana, King Kanishka. Menander's coin, the coin he issued, bear destination or bear designs of 8-spoke dharma wheel, a classical Buddha symbol, and here we find direct and cultural exchange is being suggested by the dialogues of Milindapanna between Menander and the Buddhist monks Nagasena, who has himself a Siddha or himself a student of the Greek Buddhist monk Mahadharmarakkhita. Mahadharmarakkhita was a great Greek monk, Buddhist monk, and he was having his students under him to study Buddhism. During the 1st century BC, the first anthropomorphic representation of Buddha are found in Indo-Greek region in a realistic style known as Greco-Roman. For the first time we find that Buddha is being represented as a full-scale image, in the full-scale image of a human being, and this was in a realistic style, and the style was Indo-Greek style, or you can say it Greco-Roman style. Many of the stylish elements in these figures, representation of Buddha, point to Greek influence like wavy robe covering both shoulders, the stance of the upright figure. It is from 1st and 2nd century, standing Buddhas with the stylistic curly hair, which was usually in the Mediterranean style, and there is a knot on the head, and it is a purely Hellenistic style, and the iconography were excavated, styles and iconography were excavated at the time at the places of Gandhara sites. That means for the first time we find in the Greco-Roman type, we find the first anthropomorphic representation of Buddha, in which a typical Greek style of wardrobe, Greek style of dressing sense is being used. The arrangement of the hair and a top knot usnisa, which is on the head of the Buddha, is from the style of that region which was that time prevalent. A huge quantity of sculptures belonging to Buddhist art and purely Hellenistic style and iconography were excavated during this time. Several influential Greek Buddhist monks were also recorded during that time. They were known as Mahadharmarakkhita, literally translated as the great teacher, a great preserver of the Dharma, was a Greek Yona Buddhist head monk according to the Mahavansa. Now, Yona is usually referred to as the Yavanaj or the people from the Greece origin. So we have this time several influential great Greek Buddhist monks, and one of them most important was Mahadharmarakshita, and he was a Greek Yavana Buddhist head monk according to the text Mahavamsa, who laid, this gentleman laid, Dharmarakshita laid about 30,000 Buddhist monks from the Greek city of Alexandria, around 150 kilometers of the Great Super, during the rule of the king Menanda from 165 BC to 135 BC.